Is the coronavirus plague warfare? China is charged in one of the biggest hacks in history, and Chinese jets harass Taiwan. That and more on this week's China News Headlines. This is China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. This week's China News Headlines. First up, the coronavirus, now known as COVID-19. Currently, it's believed the virus spread from this wet market in the Chinese city of Wuhan. However, that might not have been the original source. Therefore, there's only one logical explanation. It was a bioweapon that escaped a Chinese lab! Yes, I'm channeling Alex Jones, but that's not his conspiracy. Maybe he believes it, but he didn't come up with it. It's actually a widely popular theory spreading almost as fast as COVID-19. So much so that Fox News anchor Maria Bartiromo actually asked that question to White House trade advisor Peter Navarro.
They knew that coronavirus had happened back in December. They sent a delegation to the White House to shake everybody's hand. They knew that they had this virus that had started for the phase 1. Then they sent the largest delegation ever to Davos. And now the ambassador to China was on one of the Sunday shows this weekend, and he did not deny that coronavirus could have started in a weapons lab. Do we know if this started in a research lab, and how come they won't allow the CDC in there to better understand how this started? Because if they started this in a weapons lab, that's evidence that they are developing or trying to develop weapons of mass destruction, biological weapons.
Wait, is Maria Bartiromo asking if Chinese authorities were using the coronavirus to infect U.S. officials and rich and powerful people at Davos? I mean, she was talking kind of fast, but I'm pretty sure she's implying that the coronavirus could be plague warfare. That is giving Alex Jones a run for his money. Look at poor Navarro's face. Pro tip, if you're going to ask your interview guest the leading question, at least give him a chance to answer your leading question. On to another conspiracy theory, one that turned out to be true. Remember that massive Equifax hack back in 2017 that stole the personal information of 145 million Americans? At the time, there were rumblings that maybe Chinese state-sponsored hackers were behind it. Well, the US just charged 4 members of the Chinese military for the hack. Don't worry, 145 million Americans who were affected by their actions. The Chinese military only gained access to your name, address, social security number, driver's license, and a few other minor details. And anyway, the Chinese military says they didn't do it. Why is America such a big bully? The US Justice Department has been busy. Besides charging Chinese hackers for the Equifax hack, they also charged 5 people in New York and Texas for selling sanctioned Iranian oil to China. They managed 2 shipments of oil per month worth a profit of $28 million. But now, they face 25 years in jail. Partly because, China buying Iranian oil is funding Iranian terrorism. The Pentagon submitted its 2020 budget proposal. The focus is on keeping pace with high-tech weapons development in Russia and China, including boosting hypersonic missiles, nuclear modernization, 5G technologies, and missile defense, as well as the newly minted Space Force. A big part of that is ship-killing missiles. It comes at a time when China is rapidly building up its navy. I'm sure there's no connection, though. Meanwhile, the State Department is hammering China's military for crossing into Taiwan airspace. Yes, while the Chinese regime should be dealing with the outbreak of a deadly virus, they put resources into military drills and harassing Taiwan. Surely the world will be successfully distracted. Except now the US is flying bombers near Taiwan to show that they'll stand by Taiwan's side. 2020 is the year that everything goes wrong for the Chinese Communist Party. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more of the China news that impacts you. And as you may have heard me mention, YouTube has refused to run ads on most of our episodes about the coronavirus, which means that we can't afford to keep covering it. Except for one thing. We have the support of viewers like you, whom I call the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army. Through your contributions on the crowdfunding website Patreon, China Uncensored can keep paying our staff and our expenses, so we can keep letting you know about important China issues, like a deadly global pandemic. So, as a thank you to supporters, I answer a question from them at the end of some of my episodes. Today's question comes from Swags. What is the Supreme People's Court? Doesn't she interpret all the Chinese laws? Good question. Well, the Supreme People's Court is the highest court of law in China, which is kind of an oxymoron since China doesn't really have rule of law. But since the 1980s, China has built up a structure that looks a lot like a legal system. The difference is the Communist Party uses the law to go after people it wants to go after. But not everyone is treated equally under the law, if you're rich, if you have connections, and especially if you're a party member, unless you're a party member who makes a big mistake. Keep in mind, the Chief Justice of the Supreme People's Court once said, China's courts must firmly resist the Western idea of judicial independence and other ideologies that threaten the leadership of the ruling Communist Party. So does that mean she controls the courts? Not directly. The Communist Party is like the world's most nightmarish bureaucracy. Xi definitely has a lot of power now, but he still has to guard his back from all the other Communist Party members who would love to see him gone and maybe themselves put in as replacements. This means there's a lot of compromises that goes on behind the scenes. They've called it the collective leadership of the party. But even if Xi Jinping doesn't have the final word, you can be sure it's still the will of the Communist Party coming through on any sensitive verdict. Thanks for your question. And if you'd like to join the China Uncensored 50 Cent Army, head over to patreon.com/China Uncensored to learn more. Thanks for watching China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.